Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news. I'm back with Glenn for the Cossy and Glenn podcast, and we want to dive into the Victor Osimhen, transfer saga. It's really catching up and down, and I thought, why not introduce one of the best people are talking about this football club, and we talk about Victor Osimhen, one of the deals that are really being talked about that could happen in the next couple of days. We have a lot of information. Arsenal, as one of the clubs mentioned, to make a bid for Osimhen in the coming days, but also the fact that Arsenal are willing to negotiate with Napoli, and most importantly, Napoli are going to evaluate whether they will be able to negotiate with Arsenal and still find, a common ground. Glenn, welcome back to the channel, bro. Lots going on. How have you been? Okay, I think I lost him. I think I lost him. We'll get back to Glenn. We'll get back with Glenn a little bit later on. I just want to run you through what's going on with Victor Osimhen. A couple of outlets in Italy are still claiming that Arsenal are still very serious about signing Victor Osimhen this summer, and of course, Arsenal are willing to make an offer for Victor Osimhen. That offer, obviously, has not yet been, told or has not yet been made. But Arsenal value the player at around 75 million euros. That is almost half of the 120 million euros that Napoli are looking for. Glenn, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, how have you been?
Yeah, I'm doing good, enjoying the Euros, and the transfer is now getting heated. I can't wait to see who we're going to sign first.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Osimhen, this is an Osimhen episode because there's a lot going on there. I'm personally a little bit puzzled. Who do I really believe? Who do I quote? Who do I not quote? But I'm going to quote all the sources that are close to Napoli and are close to, Italy as well. So first and foremost, Arsenal value the player at around 75 million euros, and an offer is predicted to be incoming. Napoli are willing to negotiate. They will, weigh the pros and cons and see whether they can find a consensus. Do you think in the next days, Victor Osimhen is a story that's going to grow on this Arsenal transfer market?
I think it has to, because we want to do our business very quickly. If it was back in the day when you're willing to wait until August to do our transfers, we could have been patient. But considering you usually try to make to get our transfers done before the preseason, I think we have to have an answer. Now, in terms of Osimhen to Arsenal, I think you're going to have an answer soon. In terms of if it doesn't happen in Osimhen to a different team, then we might have to wait until August to find out which team Osimhen will go to. But if it's just directly to us, I think we have to get an answer very soon. I wouldn't say necessarily in the next 2-3 days or something. I'd say maybe around this month somewhere, because it's such a difficult deal. Now, the good thing with him is not at the Euros, so it could get done quicker. But I guess we're definitely going to hear something. Now, obviously, Napoli have to sell. Napoli also have to start getting the transfers done. So they have to start selling Osimhen and getting that money to use elsewhere. Arsenal have to decide in terms of the budget, because if we do get Osimhen, then that affects the rest of our budget. But if you're not getting Osimhen, then we can plan to sign 3 or 4 other players in the team. So I think you're going to get an answer in the next couple of days. We're probably going to get it in terms of if you make that 75 million euro bid, we are going to know what is going on. If Napoli just say, just get out of here, we're not going to accept anything like that, then I think Arsenal might get to make another bid, but after that, I don't think you're going to go anywhere near 100 million. So I think the situation what's going to happen eventually is I don't think Osimhen is going to end up joining any team. I think it's either going to be Arsenal or PSG ends up staying at Napoli. I don't see him going to Saudi Arabia, and I'm not sure they'd want him to stay at Napoli. The coach doesn't want him. I don't think he wants to stay there. They need to sell him to use the budget, so there's a lot of reasons why he has to leave. So it's an interesting one. But yes, I do think in the next couple of days you might hear something, but in terms of getting it done or anything like that, I think you have to wait a couple of weeks.
I mean, the key terms in this deal, one or two. One, he cannot stay at Napoli. That's the first thing. Napoli made it very clear in January they were gonna sell him. he made it clear to Napoli that he wants to leave this summer. So I don't think he can stay at Napoli. I don't think he's going to stay at Napoli. The second key term is Arsenal's valuation. Let's start off with Arsenal's valuation because it leads into whether he leaves Napoli to Arsenal or to another club. The 75 million euro valuation, one of my subscribers said it's a pity that Arsenal value him as low as 75 million euros. Do you think we are valuing him at 75 million euros because we are not willing to go above that for any player this summer? Or that is the true valuation of Arsenal in this guy? Is it our own valuation of what we are willing to spend on a striker this summer, the maximum, or is it the real valuation of how Arsenal look at Osimhen?
I think it's a little bit of both, but mainly the first one that you said. I don't think we want to spend 110 million on a striker because of our budget. It would be easy if we knew how much we have for this summer. We'd be able to break it down more, but no one knows how much money we have this summer. And as Cossy said already before, a lot of times, it's great. You're not letting leaks come out of the club, so no one really knows how much we have. So I think it's a case of that, because if you spend 100 million on a player and if you have a budget of 150 million, then that does not allow you to sign anyone else really. Maybe you can get a 20 million winger, 30 million winger. But remember, you've not sorted out your midfield. You've not sorted out your left back. At someone's a left back. If Ramsdale leaves, you'll still need a goalkeeper. So you're talking around 200 million. So I think it's a case of not wanting to spend too much money. And also FFP as well on top of that, because you don't want to sign, Havertz for 65, Rice for 105, and then the next season another 100 million, and then the next 100 million. I would love us to do that. I think that's what you need to do to compete with Real Madrid and Man City now. You have to be spending money, because Man City can sign Grealish for 100 million this summer. The next summer they're going to get Haaland. The next summer they're splashing 80 million on Gvardiol. I think you have to keep up with them. But I don't know our finances right now. Champions League helps. But in terms of his true value, I personally don't think he's worth 75 million euros. I think that's too low. I think that's too low for a player who scored.
That would be around 65 million pounds.
That's the same money as Havertz. So that's quite low for a player who scored 17 goals last season in a bad season. The title-winning season, 31 goals in 39 games. The previous season he got 18. The previous season he got 10. He scored goals at Lille. He did well. He did okay at before moving away from Wolfsburg. He's played in several countries. He scores goals for Nigeria. 75 million is a bit too low. I'd say something like 90 million euros. If it was pounds, 75 million pounds, I'd say okay. But that's around, if you're moving from 120, that's like 45, 50 million less than what they want in his release clause. That's a tough one. Unless they're very, very desperate to sell him and Conte does not want him anywhere there and no team wants him. But as I also heard you in your video saying, if they say 75 million, okay, fine, give us, other teams will come. They'll be like, oh, you're giving them for 75 million. We want him now. 75 million is okay. I think that's too low. It could be because he had a poor season. If you consider 20 goals a poor season, if you consider missing those chances, and if you also consider the injuries, I think it's still too low, because he's only 25 years of age.
Yeah,
he's nowhere near his prime. So you can sign a 5-6 year deal somewhere and score goals for the next 6 seasons, wherever he goes. I actually thought you would end up like at a Real Madrid if Mbappe didn't go there. I was thinking Vinicius on the left, Rodrigo on the right, Osimhen up front. He can be at the next Benzema. That is what I was thinking. He's a player's being compared with Benzema to Mbappe, to Haaland. This generation of who's going to win the Ballon d'Or next has been involved in those conversations. So I think 75 million euros is quite low, but I do actually think I still potentially value him around that because of his injuries and all that, but also in terms of a risk coming to England. But I also think mainly because we don't really want to spend too much money on that.
Yeah. Now, definitely, we've had our wars on this channel with you guys, most of you who are my subscribers, and this one is a different one. So let's settle this one right on the comment section below. Victor Osimhen for 100 million, yes or no? If you would take him for 100 million, just type yes. If you take him for, if you don't take him for 100 million, type no. It's as simple as that. Yes or no, Victor Osimhen for 100 million. I want to see how many people would take him for 100 million. Personally, I think I'm leaning towards Arsenal's verdict, than Napoli's valuation in terms of valuing Victor Osimhen. I'm looking at Victor Osimhen as a very quality striker, like really, really quality. But I have never been really 100% convinced that he is the 100 million striker, that he is that kind of, big signing you've got to pay a lot of money for. Now, would I take him at Arsenal? Definitely, 120% yes. But close to 75 million pounds. I think Arsenal again have done it. If they really value him at 75, they've overdone it. That's too low. But I'd
Mm.
value him at around 75 million pounds. That is close to 85 million euros. That's close to 90 million euros around there. So I think I'm closer to Arsenal than to Napoli. And I think we talked about this with Glenn yesterday. Actually, today on his channel. Make sure you do watch. You check out the podcast we did. And I was saying that I think the 120 million was not the exact value Napoli are looking for, but they did it as a bit of protection. They did it to protect their value of the player. That when it comes to the summer, clubs will of course come in and say we want to sign him, but we know that he's not going to stay. We know that we know that you had a fight with him, so we are giving you as little as this. So what they decided to do is, why don't we insert a release clause in this guy's contract that protects his value, so that in the at the end of the season our value is protected and we can get good money, because they really signed him for a record fee. I think for an African that was around $90 million. I'm not really sure when you convert to pounds and euros how much it is, but at the time he was the most expensive African, to make a move from Lille to Napoli. So I would say I will see negotiations, and that's where I want us to talk, Glenn. Napoli are saying that they will weigh the pros and cons. They're willing to
Mm.
negotiate, right? And probably see how a deal works. Do you think they're becoming desperate first and foremost? Do you think they're realizing not so many clubs are in for him, and the Saudi Arabian Pro League is a no option?
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of factors. If Conte actually wanted him and they didn't really have to sell him, then they'd be like, okay, if no team comes in for him, we're absolutely fine. But if Osimhen was 80 million right now, there's no, it's only Arsenal will be talking to him. Man United would be interested. Liverpool would be interested, maybe to replace Nunes. PSG would definitely be there. Bayern would potentially be there, wanting to play with Kane. Juventus would be there. They always love taking players from those teams. You'd hear maybe an Atletico Madrid wanting to replace Morata. You'd hear all of these teams wanting Osimhen, because there's no team wanting him right now, not because he's not a good striker, because of that fee. 120 million. Because that's why I don't agree. People saying, yes, just pay that money. Let's get him right now. There's a reason why no one else is paying that money right now. And Arsenal is not the team that I don't think out of all of those teams in the world, especially those top 6 leagues, Arsenal is the one that is most desperate to get a striker. Yes, I want us to get a striker, but Arsenal can still score 80, 90 goals without a striker. There's teams that don't have goals at all in their team, as we have goals. So we are not as desperate as other teams, but we want to get a striker to compete with Man City. We know that's the only way we can compete with Man City. So in terms of them getting desperate, because Conte doesn't want him, and it depends on how much he wants Lukaku in the team. If they're desperate, I think they are desperate to sell him and to use that money elsewhere. Because especially if Varshele ends up leaving, they might want a backup striker. They might want another left winger. I don't know the defensive situation. I don't know if they ever replaced Kim Min-jae well at the back. I think they may need one to come and play Di Lorenzo and all of those people. I don't know about their goalkeeper situation. So they might need other players in their team. And to get those players, they have to sell Victor Osimhen. And we're already on June 17th. So they also have to start getting players. Now, the worry is for them as well. Even if they get that 90, 100 million, teams will know, okay, Napoli now have some money. So we are going to charge them a lot of money. So it's a difficult situation for them. So they will need time. So they have to, if they are going to sell him, they have to do it right now, because they need at least 2 months to negotiate for other players as well. So I think they are desperate, because if it was not for that money, every team would have wanted him. But because they want 120, 130 million euros, that's a lot of money. If Osimhen did not have injuries at all, then you can say, okay, 130 million could be fine, because it's not easy to get strikers. If you want Isaac, Watkins, Gyökeres, and all these people, you have to pay a lot of money. You can't get a 10 million striker and then he comes and scores 30 goals. It is unheard of. You cannot do that. And there's not too many strikers in the world right now. You have to pay the premium, but you have to look at the wrong things as well. The cons as well in the player. Because what if you buy him for 130 million and then he comes and misses half of the season with an injury? Declan Rice is very different. Declan Rice, we had bought him, a player who had never gotten an injury for 6-7 years. So we know is worth every single
Yeah.
penny of that 105 million. But
And
for
obviously,
Osimhen, he already has injuries.
he had played in the Premier League,
Mm.
so you are literally just bringing in a player to learn your system and ready to go.
So I think they're going to be desperate to get rid of him, especially because they need time to get other players, and Conte doesn't want him unless Conte has a change of heart and decides, listen, I've just seen Lukaku playing for Belgium. You know what? Forget about him. I will keep Osimhen. Maybe
Mm.
that could be the case, but I think they could be a little bit desperate and they might take it a little bit down. But 75 million, I think they're going to be like a compromise. They're like, okay, can you up it for like 10 million or something?
Yeah, I also don't think that they're going to negotiate it down to 75 million. But
Mm.
I've said this before and I said again, they are now realizing there are fewer destinations for Osimhen
Yeah,
that are not Arsenal. And I think they would also be very lucky if it gets to the end of this month with Arsenal still having Osimhen as an option, because the further we go in the market, the
yeah.
lesser we are more like the lesser we are likely to do difficult deals, the lesser we are likely to do hard to do deals, because Osimhen is definitely a very, very hard to do deal. Now, I've had someone in the comment section on one of the latest videos I posted, and he has told me, why don't Arsenal just go out there, get three players, Rhys Nelson, ESR, and Edin Ketia, plus 32 million, and sign Victor Osimhen from Napoli. So first and foremost, guys, in the comment section, lots of you actually in the comments have been very active. Thank you so much. Literally telling me, some of you are saying no, he's injury prone. James J says he's injury prone. And then you have Mohimbo who says 100 million. Yes, but his salary shouldn't be beyond 200k. Then you have Norway Baxter as well. So a couple of people are saying 100 million is too much. So the question I asked was, would you take Osimhen for 100 million? If you've not yet participated, do participate. Right? Let me know in the comment box below. Just a yes or no. Do you take him for 100 million? Yes. Do you not take him for 100 million? No. The other thing I want you to let me know in the comments is the ESR swap deal, right? Would you have ESR go to Napoli, Arsenal adding 40 or 30 million or 50 million, depending on the valuation, and we get Osimhen? ESR plus cash plus Osimhen. Glenn, let's talk about the swap deal, and let's talk about Napoli's compromise. How much do you think they're willing to slash off that 120 million? If you're Napoli, how much do you slash off that 120 million euros?
30
30 million. So you got 90
only.
million euros.
Yeah, if I was a Napoli fan or Napoli on or something, I'd say the list is 90 million because he's still a striker who can score goals. There's
Yeah.
not too many. I think in the world right now, if you look at it, there was a time it was Lewandowski and Kane and Ronaldo. Right now in Europe, even Lewandowski's goals have dried up. So Suarez is no longer there. So you're looking at Kane who can score goals regular basis. You're looking at Isaac. And they're looking at maybe two others now. Joker is coming in and players like Osimhen. It's not easy to get a player who's going to score. I think with Osimhen, you're guaranteed. If he plays even 30 games, you're guaranteed 20 plus goals. Depends. I don't know if he takes the
Not sure.
penalties all the times there.
Yeah.
He can get you 20 plus goals in a season for sure. Now, the likes of Sesko, you're not 100% sure. Now, 90 million would be what I value him at because, listen, he's an explosive striker. You know, that explosive striker who defenders would be worried about.
Yeah.
We usually say, I don't like talking badly about Arsenal players, but I think we've had it, someone saying before. I think it was Van Dijk. There's an interview he had and he was asked, okay, are you worried about, playing against Nketiah tomorrow? It was like 2-3 seasons ago. He's like, nah. And then the Liverpool fans were like, nah, he's going to sleep like a little baby. He's not worried about Nketiah the next day. But if you're playing against Ronaldo or players like that, and then players like Osimhen the next day, you're going to have a tough physical battle, and a player who's going to run in behind, pace, explosive, is going to score, aerial ability, and all that. Someone like a Van Dijk could be worried. He'd be like, oh, we're up against Osimhen tomorrow. So he's a player who's going to inject fear in Man City as a competitor, inject fear to Liverpool as a competitor, inject fear to the defender. So that is something he's going to bring to your team. It's such a difficult one, man. Such a difficult one. If he was 90 million euros, that's around 75 million pounds, I would take him 100%. But if I was a Napoli owner, Napoli fan, 90 million is the least. I would even probably say 100 million because if players like I said are going for that, different though. He's never played in England before. Signing a player from England, I do understand why Isaac would be more expensive than him. So Yeah, that's how I should say it.
I mean, yeah, 90 million is not bad. Definitely, like it's real valuation because most of the strikers, that is in the range where they are. Again, if you look at Victor Gyökeres, who is wanted by many clubs, by many fans actually. Again, that's his valuation around 90 million euros, around 100 million euros, which is around 85 million pounds. So, one of the ways Arsenal could do this deal is a swap,
Mm.
and I'm 100% against the swap that includes ESR because he's homegrown. Arsenal would record pure profit. And I think Arsenal could make good money selling our players independently than batching them up and then cuddling them into a swap deal. But if Arsenal really wanted to do a swap deal, which player would you offer Napoli that you think they would need, that you think they would accept under Conte, and how much would you add?
Just one player.
Just one player. I don't think you're going
Oh.
to give them every kind of player you don't need. They are
Mm.
not going to accept that.
Oh, in this Arsenal team, what would they want? I'm thinking they would maybe want a defender like a Kivio, but I don't want
Yeah.
Kivio to go anywhere. They might want a creator like Smith Rowe. I don't think I would want that. So I would probably say 3 players.
Tomiyasu?
Hell no. Don't tell me. I don't want Tomiyasu to go anywhere. I don't want any of our defenders to go anywhere. So I have 3 players. I wanted Vieira to stay, but if it means you're going to get Osimhen, so I'd potentially say Vieira, Nelson, and Ketia. Now the problem is, would they really want those players? Now we've also mentioned homegrown, so you can't just get rid of Smith Rowe, Ketia, Nelson, and every English player. You have to have a certain number of English players in your team as well. So you have to be careful in terms of that as well. Now the problem is, would Napoli want to take Nketiah if you're giving them just 50 million? I don't think so. I think the only thing that they would be happy with is like 80 million plus Nketiah, and that takes it to like 130 million, considering what you want for Nketiah, which also will not be happy with. It would be easier for the fans to do that. 80 million plus Nketiah, give them, but would they want Nketiah anyway? I don't think they would. In basketball, when you get a player, if you trade a player, you swap a player, you can get the player and then you can let them go immediately. You can sell them immediately or get someone else. But in football, it doesn't work like that. And he goes there, he'll sign a contract, and they won't get rid of him right away. I don't think they'd want Nketiah to be their next striker. Maybe they'd want some pace in terms of Nelson, and maybe they'd want some creativity in terms of Vieira or Smith Rowe. So for me, I'd say Nketiah or Nelson. And how much on top of that? I would say 60 million plus Nketiah.
Wow. I mean, that is the problem with swaps and player plus cash deals, because I'm thinking Arsenal could independently get around 35 to 40 million for Eddie Nketiah from an English club, because they would value him more in the Premier League because of his Premier League experience and the fact that he's played at a top team, at a top level, Champions League and all that.
If you give them Nelson, they would ask for 90 million. They
Exactly.
probably value Nelson at like 10 million.
Yeah, exactly. That would be my problem. Now, Osimhen is a player that has actually sold for more than his market value in the last 2 times he has made a move. He moved for 22 million euros, then to Lille. By then, his market value was around 14 million, and then he moved for 77 million euros to Napoli. That was, I don't know what they were thinking. I'm thinking that they were signing him as a permanent player. Maybe I don't think they were looking to kind of make money after signing him. So there will be an element of profit in there. I don't think they just signed him to keep their money there. I think they would want to make some profit. If they signed him for 77, they will have to make something like maybe 13 million euros. That would take it to 90 million euros. So I don't see a deal less than 90 million euros. So this is what I'm going to ask you. Do you think Arsenal will match the 90 million euros at least?
I think we could, because I've seen something with us spending money on Vieira and Havertz and Rice. That has kind of changed my mentality as an Arsenal fan, because we were never used to signing players like that. But since we spent, 35 million on Zinchenko, and then we spent 42 million on Vieira, and then we spent 65 million on Havertz, and then 105 on Rice, I feel like we've changed. I think we've changed in terms of spending money. I feel like we're going to continue to spend the money like that. So I feel like we can match 90 million. 100 million plus, though, I don't think so. I would not be surprised if he gets 90 million. And they surprise us. Maybe that's what they've been cooking behind the scenes and you don't know about it. But yeah, since we spent money on Havertz and Rice and Vieira, I feel like, yeah, they're able to spend money. If this was 3 years ago, I'd be like, no way.
Yeah. Wenza says Osimhen is worth 100 million. Justin says 100 million, no. Swipe says Vieira plus 45 million. That is not happening. I don't think we didn't even sign Fabio Vieira ourselves for
No
50
way.
million. So there's no way he's valued at 45 million as well. So I don't think Vieira plus 45 million is a deal that will easily
They would
happen.
ask for Tomiyasu on top of that.
Yeah. Lovely says ESR plus 45 million. Do you see that happen, Glenn? 45
And
million plus ESR?
no, now for us, we value Smith Rowe for that. For them, I'm sure Napoli are looking at Smith Rowe and they think that's a player who's worth
20.
like 20 million.
Yeah.
So they
Swipe
would
says
ask for 75.
Yeah, yeah. Swipe says we lack a strike. We lack a striker like Drogba and Benzema who can score anytime. One says, "God, please, Victor Osimhen come to us." No majority fan wants him. I mean, fans do like him. I was surprised. Justin says Osimhen is good, but it's too expensive. And Rennie says, "How do you see guys Osimhen and Gyökeres who can fit in Arsenal?" And that will be the last one we take before we go into the France game. Um, Osimhen or Gyökeres? I'm just going to choose sides. I think I've seen enough with Osimhen to go with Osimhen.
To fit Arsenal style.
Yeah.
Nah, to fit Arsenal style is definitely Gyökeres because you said it well a couple of weeks ago. Osimhen wants the ball to him very quickly. Osimhen wants
That's right.
the ball to be passed to him very quickly
Very
to run
quickly, yeah.
in behind. Arsenal don't play like that, passing around Rice, Odegaard, Saka, sometimes move it back, we dominate possession. He's not going to get so many like quick
Yeah.
chances. He's still
Yeah.
going to get chances. He's still going to score goals. But in terms of fitting into what Ateta wants a striker who's
Yeah,
going to
I think that
score
will
and
be
also
Gyökeres.
assist.
Yeah.
And Yoker has got 15 assists and he got 43 goals. So in terms of Ateta system, it would prefer Gyökeres. But in terms of which striker, I think Osimhen is definitely more what's the word he used? Like more certain, I guess, because he's done it for a lot of years. So yeah, but in terms of Ateta's system, I think if you're to ask me between those two plus Sesko, it would be Sesko. But I think Gyökeres would fit in more because he can also assist and score. But yeah, again, very expensive. In terms of who'd score more goals, I think we've seen more from Osimhen.
Yeah, we've seen more from Osimhen. Now, William Saliba starts today for France. Make sure you do catch up on that one. You could, you could just give it a watch as you rest. We are out of this place. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch up with you right on the next one.